And now.
That's the middle shot. He scores! Slips it off to Wyatt Matthews. He's in! Eagles take the lead!
The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Welcome to Sports Talk, the number one sports podcast in the Philadelphia area. Come on out here, Brodes. This episode of Sports Talk with Brodes is brought to you by Sports R Philly. Sports R Philly contains a wide variety of great blogs across the Philadelphia area. You can follow them on Twitter at Sports R Philly or check out their website, www.sportsrphilly.com.
What is going on, everyone? We are here for a 22nd episode of Sports Talk with Brodes. Don't know what that sound was. Anyway, before we dive into this amazing Eagles game and the NFL day, I just want to say I'm trying something new. We are now live streaming on Twitch. And to find out when I am live streaming for an episode, you can follow me on Twitter at sportsandlbrodes. And what this will allow you to do is watch me record an episode live. And you can chat with the chat room and interact with the podcast. So I'm very excited for that. You can call into the show using your voice recording app and sending it to sportsandbrodes@gmail.com. We have our first chatter, and that's Nick Egan, and he said, "Let's go Raiders." And I have a TV on right next to me with the game on. And I hope the Raiders win, because after that amazing Eagles game, we need the Skins to go down. Now let's dive into Eagles. I'm going to do a little rundown of the game, and then I will discuss the positives and negatives that occurred during this football game. Now, first play of the game, you have the refs blowing a call. Yeah, I got you, Nick Egan, for the shout out for the Raiders. Chatting in my chat. Anyway, going back, the refs blow the first play of the game. How is that not a touchback? That is absolutely ridiculous. I was pissed off. You watch the replay. You see the player of the Eagles get the football, throw it back in play before he put his feet in the end zone. And you get that wrong and give the Giants a touchback to start. Then the Eagles, they face 2 3-and-outs. Adversity, how will we respond, I say? Watching that game, Blunt runs the damn football and we gain 17 yards. That's what we did. We did a great day of running the football. I have a disappointment involved with Doug Peterson later on, but I'll get to that. There were a couple times it was 4th and inches and we didn't have Blunt out there. We have Smallwood. I'm just running through the list right now. Russell Douglas, interception. I thought he played phenomenal. Right after Joe Buck praised Eli Manning for having such a great start. Then here's the killer. 4th and 8 on the 50 at the end of the first half. Doug Peterson goes for it. What? That play call goes for maybe top 2 dumbest plays I've ever seen called in the NFL. One being Pete Carroll not running the ball with Marshawn Lynch at the goal line in the Super Bowl, throwing an interception. 4th and 8 on your own 50. He said after the game that the analytics in his phone said that in his headset said that it was a good chance to take. 4th and 8 on the 50. Late in the first half. They go down. And thank God the defense stood them on 4th and goal. And they didn't score right before half. The defense saved Doug Peterson there. But that doesn't mean it's a good play. Even if they actually did get through, on that 4th and 8. It doesn't make it a good play. Ridiculous. So Jordan Hicks, Fletcher Cox, Darren Sproles all do not return in the football game. Jason Peters leaves, gets retaped, comes back. Michael Kendricks, someone who everyone always says to trade. I don't understand that. His heart and passion is seen every time he plays. Well, he gets a tip ball, and Robinson gets the interception. But it all started with him on that tip ball. Then Dougie P goes for 4th and 1 at the 50. Now that is way more reasonable. We get that. We actually get that one. Makes sense. And then another big defensive stop. Eagles D. Turnover on downs. Now, if Ben McAdoo was smart, which he's not, this was like the world's worst coaches playing against each other. Really, it's which Stunad's going to make a worse decision. It could be 14-6 if the Giants knew how to use their kicker. And then here we go with the Giants' big turnaround, and after it was 14-0. 14-0. Odell scores and pisses like a dog. And he gets a flag. He literally was on all fours, and as if he was peeing on a hydrant. That was his celebration. Real smart. Cost him yards. Real smart. Zach Ertz gets the football on the next drive. 14-7 Birds. What happens? Fumbles. Trying to gain extra yards. Odell Beckham with another amazing catch. At this point, I'm laughing, right? This is comical to me. I am pissed off. I'm devastated. I'm laughing on the outside. Inside, painful. I just feel the pain. Then Sterling Shepard hits me with another touchdown. The Birds are actually losing this football game? 21-14 at this point. This is funny. At this point, it's 21-14. In my notes, I have, why is LeGarrette Blount, this is after Sterling Shepard, why is LeGarrette Blount getting no touches late in the football game? He killed it. He did amazing. And then he just stops using him, and it's Smallwood and Clement in the backfield. Just stopped using LeGarrette Blount after a phenomenal performance in the first half. Oh, God, here I go. So anyway, it says, why is Blount not getting touches late? Literally, F you, Doug. Spelled out, though. The next play, Corey Clement runs it in. That's awesome. Local South Jersey kid, went to Glassboro, scores a huge touchdown. And the fans went absolutely wild. And here we go. Walk-off 61-yard field goal for Jake Elliott to win the ball game. 61-yarder. This game played with my emotions. I couldn't even fathom. I had the highs and the lows. At one point, I was so pissed off. I was moody. I wasn't talking to anyone. It was frustrating at one point. So let's go through the positives and the negatives. Let's start with the negatives so we can end on a little bit of a note. My group chat back home keeps getting on me because I'm the one that's always on the down. I'm always saying we're going to lose. And they say, oh, Brodes, where's the positivity? I don't like to think positive. I like to think negatively, so if the positive happens, it's okay. But I don't want to get my hopes up, it not work out, and then I just get crushed, because that's how it goes. How many times do I have to say that? So some negatives. All Giants points come in the fourth quarter. This is the second game in a row now where we've given up a lot of points in the fourth quarter. I don't like that. That is an absolute negative. Although I was listening to some Philly sports radio on my drive, and they were saying that we shut him out all 3 quarters, first 3. If you let up 24 in the fourth quarter, it all evens out throughout the game. I don't like to think that way. That doesn't make sense. You're still letting up 24 points in the fourth quarter. Why do I keep saying that? I'm out to lunch. You're still giving up 24 points in the fourth quarter. Another negative is Doug Peterson. I don't care. Today was a piss poor game by him. Fourth and 8. Oh my, come on, that's the kind of stuff you do on Madden. And then you quit the game after you don't get it. Well, you know what, Doug? You can't just quit in real life in the NFL. Just an absolute joke. I can't believe it. I thought I was dreaming. I can't get it out of my head right now. Like, I'm getting fired up absolutely thinking about this 4th and 8 call. 4th and 8 call on the 50 at the end of the first half. You're so lucky, Doug, that they didn't end up scoring on that. And that's just, it just gets me fired up. Another thing of the negative when it comes to Doug P is that LeGarrette Blount situation. I do not understand it at all. So you finally run the football. You're listening to the critics. You run the football. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing that you're listening to the critics, but you are, because you ran the ball a lot. And on top of that, LeGarrette Blount looks so good. And then at some point, he's just knocked out of the football game, and you're using Smallwood and Clement the whole time. And late in the game, in our own end, you're handing the ball off to an undrafted rookie who literally almost fumbled the football again late in the game. That would have been a disaster. Put in someone who is a veteran, who knows what he's doing. And he looked good. It's not even like he didn't look good. But the only thing I will say, let's go some positives. We won the football game. Positive number 1. A W is a W. Number 2. Our field goal kicker just hit a 61-yarder. Like, what? And I don't know if this is so much a positive or a negative. Some people are hating our defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, for being too soft in the coverage on some of these receivers. But I feel like I understand what he was going for. What he wanted to do was not let these receivers give up huge plays. Let them catch the ball underneath of you. They were throwing quick slants all night, 3-5 yarders. Just let them have it. And it ended up working out. And this was another positive. We won the football game with pretty much Fletcher Cox going down, Jordan Hicks going down. Our cornerbacks are ridiculous without Darby, McLeod. We don't have some of these guys. And we still ended up winning the football game. Jalen Mills had 21 targets at him. Rasul Douglas, I thought, played really well against Brandon Marshall today. I'll give the game a B. A B. That's what I think this game was. I think we can do better. We were supposed to destroy that Giants team. And it coming down the way that it did, it was a little ridiculous for my liking. That's why I'm not going A+. There are some things that we still need to work for. And on top of that, though, talking about who we were missing and still won the football game, Carson Wentz did not have his best game. Absolutely did not have his best game. And we still came up on top, knocking the Giants to 0-3 and 0-2 in the division. Here we are, sitting at 2-1. 2-0 in the division. I said after 3, if we were 2-1, that is fine with me. Absolutely fine with me. So, that is the Eagles game. Taking a deep breath. The W was there, and we took it. Almost gave me a heart attack, no lie. Almost gave me a heart attack. But let's move on to a little bit of other games that went on in the NFL. Let's see where we're at here. There were some good ones. By the way, 1 o'clock hour games, probably the best we've seen in a while. Thought there were some great 1 o'clock games. Speaking of not great games and 9:30 in the morning, the Jaguars and the Ravens. The Jags won 44-7 and gave me -6 points in fantasy. I'm getting beat by the kid that never checks his lineup. So, awesome. So the Broncos, after destroying the Cowboys last week, take a tough loss to the Bills at home. The Bills were at home. They won 26-16. I don't even think Shady had a big night either. Looking at it, LaShawn McCoy had 14 carries, 21 yards. The Bills. Awesome. Love that one. And this one was ridiculous for me to see. Although I did have my TV. I didn't go double TV. See, I went home to visit the girlfriend this weekend. So what I did was I had the laptop, Netflix, right in front. Or Netflix. Whew. Talk about out to lunch, man. I had the laptop Red Zone on my legs, right in front of my face, along with the Eagles on the big screen. So it was still there. It's never not there. So the Saints whoop the Panthers, and the Panthers were home. 34-13. What happened to this Panthers team? I'm a little disappointed. Cam Newton was one of my favorite athletes to watch 2 years back, and it is just not looking to be that way. And I hate that. And then you have the Bears-Steelers. And the Bears won 23-17. I thought the Steelers were going to be an absolute lock. I thought the Steelers were a lock for today. Well, I was wrong. Late in the half, it was like the last play in the half in that game. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a player on the Steelers, or I'm sorry, on the Bears, who taunted as he was going in the end zone on like an 80-yard run. Ended up slowing down right by the goal line. A Steeler player came back, knocked the ball loose, and it was a fumble at the 1-yard line. Personally, I thought it should have been Steelers' ball because he fumbled it and it went out in the back of the end zone. Could have been a touchback for the Steelers. But they rolled it down at the 1. The Steelers stopped them. And then the Bears ended up with a field goal instead of a touchdown just because someone showboated. Like, that's ridiculous. If I was the Bears coach, that guy wouldn't touch the field again. That's ridiculous. You just start showboating, and then you end up costing your team 4 points. They still ended up winning, though. And then I was watching Minnesota and Tampa Bay, and it almost happened again. Grimes came back as hard as he could and almost caught Diggs, who had an explosive night. He had a really good night, Diggs, with Case Keenum. Literally, Case Keenum. What a surprise. But moving down onto the list, I can't believe the Bears won that game. The Falcons beat the Lions. And this was a test. Both 3-0. I'm sorry, both 2-0. The Falcons threw 3 interceptions. Matt Ryan threw 3 interceptions, but they pursued and they got the W in Detroit. That was a great game that came down to the wire as well. Like I said, one of the best 1 o'clock games I have seen in a while. And here we go with the Browns and Colts. The Colts won 31-28. I truly believe that this would have been the game for the Browns to win. I'm going to look at the Browns' upcoming games because I feel it. I feel it for the Browns. You know, they only lost by 3 to the Colts at the Colts' barn. And let me see here. Looking up the Browns' schedule, I'm telling you, they're going to get a win. Here they go, home against the Bengals and home against the Jets. You're telling me they can't? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the Bengals just gave Green Bay a hell of a fight. And Green Bay came back to win it in overtime because Aaron Rodgers is absolutely amazing. It was crazy. Comes back on the last drive in the fourth quarter, throws a dime to Jordy Nelson for his second touchdown of the game. And then in overtime, just does it again, man. Does it again. What it would be like to have a quarterback that you're that set on. I mean, I'm so set on Carson Wentz, don't get me wrong, but Aaron Rodgers is like a whole nother level. So moving along, the Vikings whooped the Bucks with Case Keenum and Diggs. I love football. Tom Brady comes back with 5 touchdowns. They win 36-33 against the Texans, and the Texans look great that game. Clowney is finally starting to come into this league and do the things that he was projected to do. Pretty sure he had a pick 6 on Tom Brady this game. But TB12 knows how to get it done. Titans put a good beating on the Seahawks, 33-27. Now, Richard Sherman, always talking about player safety. He hits Mariota late as hell. Going out of bounds, huge fight. He ended up getting 3 flags on one of these plays. I mean, he's the one that's always going for player safety, and you're going to hit someone that late, and especially a quarterback, the whole entire team is going to erupt and come after you. You got to know better than that. Being a veteran like that in the league, you can't be making stupid plays like that. It hurts your squad. You're supposed to be a leader on D. And the Chiefs and Chargers. The Chiefs with another win, 24-10. Kareem Hunt, 69-yard touchdown run. The guy is amazing. That's the kind of stuff that I wish we had with the Birds. LeGarrette Blount, listen, he looked great today. We should have used him more late in the game. I think Smallwood showed you a little bit of heart. He doesn't go down without a fight. He really does fight through some things. Kareem Hunt, that's like another... He is looking like Zeke to me last year. You know he's going to run for at least 55-yard touchdown. I think they said this is 3 games in a row now where he's had at least a 53-yard touchdown run. I want that. I want to see that in Philadelphia. That's what I want to do. So that's where we're at with the NFL games. Oh, the Jets stomped the Dolphins. My girlfriend's brother is a huge Dolphins fan. Drove up to New York for the game. 20-6. Wow. Seeing them win, the Bills win, the Bengals putting up a fight against Green Bay going into overtime. This is the kind of stuff that it makes the NFL week to week. It's really crazy. Anything can happen. The Saints beating the Panthers. Literally anything can happen. And right now it's 7-0 Skins. Let's see who scored. Kirk Cousins threw a touchdown to Thompson. So 7-0 with 9 minutes and 43 seconds remaining in the first. Okay, so going down my list here. I just want to let you know that my girlfriend thinks that I need to go to Football Anonymous. I disagree with that. College football, 12-12 on Saturday. Eagles play at 1. She doesn't care. She falls asleep. Her and her mom are taking naps on the couch. I'm mother effing the TV, screaming, waking up the dog, having him bark. Ridiculous. She says it overstimulates her brain with the amount of football that I watch. Just a joke. So I want to go to some college football. Some great games. Florida State. Now, I mentioned a few episodes back how they were ranked being 0-1, losing to Bama, which is respectable. Had a game canceled because of Irma and all that. They come back at home and they lose. They don't have their starting quarterback. Blackman comes in. He looks bad. Their off week probably hurt their mojo. You think they'd be pumped to come back and finally play, right? You think they would be so fired up. But they ended up losing at home. They're now 0-2. They lost to NC State. And one of their defensive ends, I believe it is, or maybe linebackers, I forget who it is, on NC State, but he spit on their logo after the game. Now, I get it. Baker Mayfield did the thing with Ohio State, and he apologized after the game. But now this is getting ridiculous. You can't be spitting on other people's logos, school logos. That's just disrespectful. I get it. It's all about the passion and in the heart of the moment, in the heat of the moment. But I just feel like you don't spit on other people's logos. That's just absolutely disrespectful. but Ohio State with a demanding win 54-21 against UNLV. Bama beats Vandy 59-0. Dominance. And we love that. Oklahoma State, ranked 6th, takes a fall to TCU 44-31. And then here it is with USC and Cal. USC pulled away. And every week they keep pulling away. And I always feel like they were overrated and they don't have what it takes to go to the natty ship. Well, we're going to look at their schedule. There's got to be a squad on here that can take them down. In the upcoming weeks, USC plays ranked 16 Washington State. That's their next game in Washington. I could see that as a loss. If not, they play Oregon State at home. That is by far a W. But they have some games up. They have some losable games. I just want to make sure that I am right in following USC to the point where I do not think that they are going to make a run at this natty ship. They play ranked 20 Utah. That could be a loss. They play in Notre Dame. That could be a loss. And they play UCLA. That could also be a loss. I just feel like they don't have what it takes. They hold on to these tight games in the last 2 weeks, and I feel like they're going to go down eventually. Clemson was actually in a tight match with Boston College, and I thought they were going to destroy BC before the game started. And in the fourth quarter, Clemson scores 4 touchdowns. So they got lucky going into the fourth quarter, it was 7-7. I mean, it was a close ball game. And then my upset of the week was Purdue beating Michigan. And that just didn't happen. Michigan won 28-10. Although I thought Purdue played okay. At one point in this game as well, it was close. It was 10-7 Purdue going into the third quarter. So at half, it was 10-7 Purdue. And then the third quarter was 14-10 Michigan, the whole third quarter. And then once again, at the fourth quarter, this is when the good teams pull away. Michigan scored 2 touchdowns to make it 28-10. I'm just loving football. I can't imagine it going away on me. I'm so happy it's finally back. And by finally, I mean we're a few weeks in, but I was just sitting there on the couch today thinking, man, what am I going to do when the season's actually over? I can't get that away. I can't get that ahead of myself, though. I have to realize, enjoy the moment. We got lots of weeks to go. Now, Oklahoma and Baylor went into an absolute shootout, and Oklahoma won 49-41. Matt Rule, the coach of Temple, went over to Baylor. I would stick away from Baylor. That is a school I would not want to go to. Clearly, right now, they are in a funk like Penn State was a few years back with all these allegations going on. And you can see it because they are 0-4. And that is not Baylor-like. I mean, you think of Baylor and it's top 10. And they're taking a big-time hit right now. But they did hang. I mean, they went onside kick, got the onside kick back, so they had the ball at 49-41 being down. And I believe they ended up fumbling it on, like, second down. And Oklahoma just kneeled it for victory. So Oklahoma survives a shootout. Georgia stomped Mississippi State 31-3 after that big game Mississippi State had last week against LSU, making a statement. Number 20, Florida, escapes a 1-point game against Kentucky. I think that is the longest win streak against another school at something crazy like 17 wins. I saw something on ESPN flash up real quick, but that's a pretty impressive stat. Now, I want to get to this Penn State-Iowa game. I watched the whole entire game. And this is my theory on it. Iowa took a late lead. It was a great game, by the way. let me just get this straight. Barkley is a beast. He is amazing. I want to compare him to Leonard Fournette in college. Different playing styles for sure. He's like a mix of like Shady McCoy, but thicker. You know, Fournette was just a beast up north and south and just lowered the shoulder and killed people. Barkley like dances in the backfield and creates gaps that aren't there and just finds holes that are not there and kills it. So Iowa's down 2. Getting back to this game, they are down 2 in field goal range. They have the football with 1:30 left. Now they scored a touchdown off a running play. What I would have done there, if you're already in field goal range, do not score. Keep running the football until time runs out, kick the field goal to win by 1. You don't want to score too quick, give the other team the ball, and then have to face Penn State and pretty much the Heisman, like not the winner, but a Heisman candidate in Barkley who was an absolute beast. Because you know what? It costed them. Because Penn State went down the field and scored with 0 seconds left, buzzer beater touchdown. Now, I also understand that you don't just want to tell your team don't score. Because I remember a few years back, might even been 2 years ago, the Giants did that. Eli Manning, they were at the goal line on 1st and goal and said, don't score, we'll punch it in. They never punched it in and lost the game. This is a little different because all they needed to do was get a field goal to win. Didn't need to be a touchdown. But absolutely ridiculous. I would have ran the timeout, kicked the field goal, and not give Penn State, one of the best teams in the country, a chance to come back. That was an easy one for me. Easy one. And another shootout that occurred was Texas A&M and Arkansas. It was crazy. And Arkansas had the lead 43-40 with 3.5 minutes left. And they short kicked it. I don't understand why they didn't just bomb it all the way down the field. They went for a short kick to give it to someone who's not used to running. Well, that gave A&M amazing field, an amazing field to play with. They tied on a field goal, and then A&M wins in overtime. Why? I love to criticize coaches. Apparently, that's what I love to do. But come on. How can you ever think that that's a realistic idea and a good option for your team? I don't know. I'm getting pissed off thinking about bad coaches because Doug Peterson just keeps coming up in my mind. I hate it. It's ridiculous. Truly is ridiculous. And I can't believe I'm throwing it in at the end here. But we have some basketball. And Carmelo Anthony was traded to Oklahoma City Thunder. So now we have Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and Paul George. They got traded for Canner, McDermott, 2nd round pick. I am curious on what Carmelo is going to do on a different team. That's a decent big 3. I mean, Paul George and Russell Westbrook are beasts. And Carmelo, yeah, you know what? He's a little old. But I feel like he can still contribute to a team when it comes to scoring the basketball. He's not the same as he used to be back in his prime. He's a little bit older now, but he can still score. And I think having a whole new system, a whole new team, he's out of New York, it's going to be a little bit different for him. It's not going to be the same thing as it was in New York. We're done with the triangle. You're playing with great talent. Elite talent. We're not talking KP and that's it. We're talking triple-double, averaging a triple-double. That didn't make sense. You're talking about a player who averaged a triple-double in Russell Westbrook and a superstar in Paul George. So this should be interesting. I mean, they're in the West. I don't think they don't have enough to compete with the Warriors, but it should be fun to watch. No one has what it takes to compete with the Warriors, and that's just the truth. So, with that being said, I think we're going to wrap this episode up. let's just check in on that NFL score before I cancel out here. Still 7-0. 5 minutes left in the first quarter. The Redskins are winning 7-0. So I just want to tell you guys one more time, I am now going live on Twitch. And you will find out when I am live following me on Twitter at sportsandbrodes. You can see me recording the podcast live, and you can actually chat with me and ask me questions and talk to me while I am recording the podcast. You can also call in to the show using a voice recording app and sending it to sportsandbrodes@gmail.com, and you will be in the show with your full-on voice as a caller. So we are wrapping this episode up. Another great week of football. There's no such thing as a bad week of football unless the Eagles lose. Then I can consider it. But this is the end of episode 22. Thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate it. See you guys next time.